If you're someone who's out for good news, this might not be the best day to try your luck. And before you assume the worst, no, nobody's dying. It's just that there's this aura of despair, especially with this news we're just going to tell you about. Don't say we didn't warn you, folks. It seems like Justin Bieber is very close to calling it quits after having to deal with a medical conundrum. Now, without further adu, let's get into what this is, shall we? Justin Bieber's Instagram story that broke the internet. It was Friday this week when the pop sensation made an Instagram announcement that talked about how he's been suffering from a very rare and severe motor function disability, something that could become an obstacle in his journey as a musician. Not to scare all you hardcore believers, but the fact of the matter is that this condition might stick with him, if not permanently, then surely for an unprecedented, extended time period. And that's not us saying pish-posh, that actually comes from a neurologist who was speaking to Sky News after having assessed the pop star. The neurologist that we talk about is named Professor Derek Wade, an expert in neurological rehabilitation at Oxford Brookes University, who has expressed concern over how serious the case has gotten, particularly with Bieber. He unfortunately seems to have an acute case of the condition. The medical condition has caused the entire right side of Bieber's face to be paralyzed. Because there's still a lot of ambiguity about the condition, all of his upcoming tour dates are postponed until further notice. Look, we know it's a bummer, but nothing comes before health, right? This also isn't something that's as common as the flu, so stakes are obviously higher. Let's take a look at what the medical condition really is and what are the implications of this disease. Justin Bieber's facial paralysis in depth. In the 3-minute clip that the Canadian pop star posted on Instagram, he said how, "It's pretty serious, I wish this wasn't the case, but obviously my body's telling me I gotta slow down." He continued with a rather unconvincing, despaired smile that he doesn't know how much time it will take to get back to full health, but he believes that he'll be back to normal. And if we're honest, props to the guy. Dealing with a neurological disease that adversely affects motor functioning is something that's physiologically very daunting. In the video, the star also proceeded to detail his medical condition, where he was showing the audience how the condition has caused him to lose control of his facial muscles and coordination, saying, "The nerve in my ear, facial nerves, and has caused my face to have paralysis. You can see this eye is not blinking. I can't smile on this right side of my face. This nostril will not move." The disease in question is called the Ramsay Hunt syndrome, which can prove to be quite fatal if not treated right. According to the data available on the disease, it is the evolved variant of the shingles virus, which can emerge in people who have suffered chickenpox as a child. The live virus is also referred to as varicella zoster. Demographically, it's typically more common in older adults, with child cases being rare. And while the medical condition isn't contagious, the live virus can stimulate chickenpox in people who previously haven't been affected, or worse, haven't been vaccinated for it. The National Organization for Rare Disorders, US, however, is inconclusive of what actually makes the virus reactivate and why it affects that particular facial nerve in the Ramsay Hunt syndrome. So, the jury's still out on that one. The most common effect and symptoms of the virus include a very severe rash or boils and blisters inside the mouth, scalp, hairline, and ears. It's also common for patients to experience gradual loss of taste on the affected side of the tongue and loss of hearing in the affected ear. Other uncomfortable symptoms also include vertigo, the sensation of dizziness or the feeling of your spatial environment revolving around you due to the involvement of the inner ear. There's also the probability that this condition can induce tinnitus, which is an auditory disturbance that resembles a very sharp ringing in the ear. That sudden disturbance can cause the patient a lot of trouble, especially when they try to close their eyes, try to make facial expressions, or even with mundane tasks such as eating food. The food tends to fall out of the weakened mouth, but the worst-case scenario for this would be the patient choking on their food, causing the airway to be blocked and ultimately causing a respiratory failure. However, if we switch our stance to look at the more optimistic side of things, there's good news too. So don't take out your handkerchiefs just yet, believers. All right, so according to the wide range of data available on the virus, chances of recovery shoot up significantly if a good antiviral treatment is given within the first 24 to 72 hours of symptoms, with a 65 to 70% chance of nearly full recovery. That is good news because it gives the doctors time for a more structured and detailed diagnosis, therefore giving the patient a much better chance at recovery because of a lower error probability. So typically all the doctors have to do is get the patient on an immediate course of steroids, the standard antiviral medication like acyclovir or famciclovir, and corticosteroids like prednisone. To further supplement the recovery, facial rehab is advised because that gets them to build their muscle memory again. The twist, though, is if you happen to miss the window of treatment, the chances of recovery plummet by nearly 50%. So we, like all of you, hope to God that they were quick in assessing Justin. Misconceptions: Bell's palsy versus Ramsay Hunt. Judging by the name of our next segment, you probably already have an idea of where we're going with this. Like every other profession in the world, there are the people who know it and the ones who pretend to know it. This is especially relevant in STEM fields where people read a 3-minute article on a random Facebook scroll and decide to actively take on the role of pseudoscientists. So why would the field of medicine be obscured from this buffoonery, right? Anyways, people have over the years of endorsing pseudoscience have mixed up the two diseases named above, Bell's palsy and Ramsay Hunt. Professor Wade from Oxford Brookes University attempted to explain what's the difference between the two and how there's so quite a bit of mix-up with regards to public knowledge. Professor Wade explained that the usual paralysis of the face like this is pretty regular, known in most cases as Bell's palsy, which is presumed to be the onset root of a virus infection impacting a particular facial nerve, the seventh cranial nerve, as it passes through a very congested narrow canal in the skull. And while symptoms of the two are very similar, with a loss of control in the facial muscles and a standard discomfort and ache in the affected areas. However, he clarified that what Justin Bieber has is shingles, the chickenpox virus affecting the same nerve in the same position. Here's how the mechanics work on this one. Basically happens because there's an information flux or an overload in the nerve, and this in turn causes the nerve to swell. And since it's already frail, thin nerve, there isn't any sufficient place for the swelling to happen without majorly affecting the nerve. What happens next is a clot forms and the nerve becomes inflamed, thereby halting proper and effective function. When he inquired about recovery spans, he tried to give a very objectively measured response, saying, some people recover very quickly in 3 weeks, and then other people can take several months. So it's very unpredictable exercise. But he didn't forget to mention how some patients are stuck with it for prolonged periods, with recurring residual effects that require constant medical care. The support that Justin's getting in all of this, friends and fans. It's true what they say, the greater the obstacle, the more glory there is in getting past it. Not all is gloom and doom, like we mentioned earlier. Bieber is hopeful and eager to get back to full health, and he's already told us how he's been doing facial exercises to try to build muscle and movement memory again. What was really heartwarming to see was that Justin's wife, Hailey Bieber, has been really supportive throughout this whole ordeal. She tweeted in support of him, writing a sweet but simple message, "I love you, baby." Other celebrities have also come up and enthusiastically expressed their support for the young superstar, with the American super celeb Khloe Kardashian commenting on his 3-minute-long Instagram video, "We're praying for you, we love you, rest up, everyone understands." And while we admit it could have been better in terms of, well, how it was phrased, we really admire the sentiment. Other big names include rapper DJ Khaled, who sent really warm well wishes to the fan favorite, telling him, "Love you, brother, you will be fine." Like others, he also suggested that a much-needed break from everything, concluding his warm wish talking about love. "We love you, God loves you, we love God, always love." And it wasn't long until a Justin hashtag by going by hashtag #WeAreWithYouJustin was one of the top 5 trends on Twitter, a platform that is used by nearly 330 million users monthly. The whole discourse on Twitter, which was basically an outpouring of love and support for the singer, also shed light on another very interesting theory. You can always trust the internet for those, right? But, well, surprisingly, one fan had some of her 2 cents to offer on the matter, something that could actually explain a lot of what's happening to the young superstar. A Twitter user named @YouAreLobbyLud, who's actually a medical physical, says that the Ramsay Hunt syndrome is a direct consequence of his run with COVID-19 a few months ago. This could not only be helpful for the physicians treating Bieber, but also for other people who are going through the same illness as he is. It comes as no surprise because there have been numerous academic papers published in acclaimed science journals like Nature, the New England Journal of Medicine, etc., which discuss the after effects of the COVID-19 infection. In most people, there's an observed decline in physical and mental health. These effects include long-term respiratory issues such as decreased oxygen saturation and retention as a result of weaker lungs, cardiovascular difficulties, especially those with a genetic history of diabetes, and chronic kidney problems. The most commonly reported after effects, however, are neurological. There have been various reports of decreased quality and cognitive function, which include memory loss and retention, brain fog, which can indicate a severe hit to the neural network in the brain circuitry, which therefore can be an indicator of motor function diseases such as Ramsay Hunt syndrome or Guillain-Barré syndrome, which again is a condition that causes intermittent paralysis. This brings up a very interesting debate about post-COVID care and what is the standard operating procedure regarding it. But for Bieber, all we can say as for now is pray for the best. And that's all we have for you today, folks. If you want more updates on Justin Bieber's health, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, press the bell icon to support the channel so we can bring you more wonderful content like this. And don't feel shy to drop some questions in the comments section. We'll see you guys in the next video, hopefully with good news. But until then, ciao.